Okay, so anyone that's in the class, have you all gotten a FamilySearch account? Do you know how to log on to FamilySearch? Is there anybody that doesn't know how? There's no, okay, I'm just gonna assume, because I don't hear anybody, that there's not anybody that doesn't know how. So we're not gonna spend too much time on how to do that, since you guys already know how to log on. And if you don't, then your student can help you, or your helper can help you. But I just think it's important to understand why FamilySearch is such a great tool for gathering family history and preserving family history and building your family tree. It's available to everybody. It's free. Because it's free and accessible to everyone, it allows people to contribute. So other members of your family can contribute to the tree, and which can be very, very helpful to you as you're trying to do research. Sometimes what you think you know about your family, or the information that you have, it may or may not be correct. And so it's really nice to be able to have a collaboration of other people that are also related and might have some pieces of information that you don't have. And so it's really nice to be able to have Phyllis. Yes, I noticed. Raise your hand.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to ask if you knew when this 1, 2, 3, 4th FamilySearch phone number and all of this is going to be going away.
I don't. Cindy or Carrie Ann, do you happen to know that?
I think you can still call the number, but they will direct you to where you need to go if it's not workable anymore. It should be probably by the end of the year that it won't be working anymore.
Okay.
And what they're doing, Chelsea, is just moving all of that online to online chats.
I see, which is helpful. That's better actually. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for asking and for answering that. Okay. So again, we're not going to talk about signing up for an account because you guys know how to log in. So when you get on to FamilySearch, if you click on, up in the toolbar, if you click on Family Tree, you can always access your family tree by clicking on that. And at any time, if you want to go back to the home page, you can click on that icon that you see left of Family Tree where it says FamilySearch and that has that logo or that icon. You can go back to the home page at any time. And when you click on Family Tree, you can see underneath it some of the different options that you can do in your tree. If you look here, there are different ways you can view your tree, and everybody has just a little bit different preference, but the one that you see here is called Landscape. And we'll talk about that. If you click on Home, it will that little Home button that you see up there on Landscape, you will always be at the center of your tree. If you click that little circle button, that's how you can recenter the tree back to you, because sometimes you may have, ventured further back and then you're like, wait, where am I? And you can just recenter the tree. And then if you click that other symbol, you can go onto full screen and back to regular. So here are some of the functions for Family Tree. There's Overview, Tree, Person, Recents. There's all these different things you can do. You can click on, well, we already talked about that you can go at any time. And there are other things that you can do besides just working on your tree or viewing your tree, but we'll talk about those at the other classes and go into those a little more in depth. And so, oh, you know what? I was going back here. Okay, so here are some other options for viewing your tree. So you have the landscape, and you can, the landscape is known as a bow tie pedigree. You at the center, you are where the knot is, and then your children will be on the left side and your ancestors will be on the right side. And that's I believe that's the most commonly used, the common view of looking at your family tree, but that's one way of doing it. And another option is called portrait. If you click on portrait, and then you can look over on the right side where it says options. What you'll need to do if you want to see the portrait is you'll have to click on portraits there. You can invert the colors if you want it to be like, this is the inverted version where it's darker, or you could have it where it's white. It doesn't really matter, but the portrait will only be there if you or somebody else has uploaded a portrait into memories of that person and attach it to them. And if you don't know how to do that, your helper can help you learn how to do that. And we'll talk a lot more about that when we talk about memories as well. Fan chart is another way that you can view your family tree, which is really cool. And you can choose how many generations that you want displayed on the fan chart. Obviously, the more generations you show, the smaller it's going to get on the screen, as far as being able to read it, because it's going to take up more space. But there are options that are kind of cool in there where you could, again, go to that right side where it says options, and you can click like birth country, or on the left side, if you notice, it says birth country, and then it will colorize your family members based on where they were born, which is kind of fun to be able to see that. And so you're able to have some of those different features on the fan chart. Okay, descendancy is another way of looking at it, where you can just focus on the people and their descendants and see who is, like the parents, their children, and their children. You're able to see it all together that way. And you can, if you want to see more people all at once, then you'll need to make sure that you don't click the portraits, because when you add portraits, it's going to take up more of the space on the screen. And so you will have to make sure that you click that if you want to see more. But that's just like an efficient way to be able to see more people that are related to you, if you want to do it that way. And I just say, whatever way you prefer looking at your family tree, there's all these different options. Oops, I went back again. Sorry, I keep doing that. Okay, so if you want to view the person at the center of the tree, if you want to go to a person, so you go to a person's name and you click on their name, and then what will happen is this person card will come up. Let me move this out of the way, sorry. This summary card will come up, and you can click on tree, or you could click on person. And you see this summary card here. That will give you the most important information about that person. Okay. For some reason now this is not clicking on to the next. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay. So if you click on them and their person, then they become the center of the tree that you are viewing. And so if you are in a different mode, if you are in the fan chart and you click the person's name, that person will then become the center. If you click on tree, that person, you pull up their summary card and you click on tree, they will become the center of that fan chart. You're always going to be at the top of the list. If you click on recents, you're always going to be at the top of the list if you want to just go ahead and return to your person page. And then after that, you're going to have probably 30 or so people that you have recently gone to. And that's helpful if you're trying to remember, wait, who was I working on? And what was it that I was trying to figure out? You can look at all the people that you recently spent time on. And you can, under the section there that says recents, and you can go down that list if you want. Okay. You can also enter an ID number of a person that you want to look up and find out, go to their person page, you can put in their ID number. So there are different ways that you can find a person on your tree. You can either find by their name, or you can find by their ID number. So if you don't know the ID number offhand, which if you haven't written it down, you probably wouldn't, then you would put in their name and as much information, basic information as you can remember. If you know around the year that they were born, if you know either their father or their mother's name and you put it in, they'll come up more easily. But typically just putting in their name, it should pull up people that are in your tree if you have just a little bit of basic information. On your tree, if you click the arrow, the down arrow where it says children, it will pull up all of their children. If you click the arrow next to a spouse, you can see other spouses, other people they were married to. And then if you click any of the arrows to the right of the couple, it will expand to their parents. And so that you can go further down the pedigree. If you're wanting to just not have to click one arrow at a time and get further down the line, you can place your mouse cursor anywhere on that gray that's not on a person, just kind of out there in the space, and you can drag the screen over to be able to go further down. You hold down the left mouse button and you drag your screen across so that you will be able to see people that you cannot yet see on the screen. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Okay, so these are the different icons that you will see when you get on to FamilySearch. You'll see them next to your family members' names. And it's important to understand what these little icons mean. Like the blue one there is for record hints. And that is basically letting you know that there is a record that probably has your relative's name in it. They have used the information that you have put into the computer or into FamilySearch, and they have located people that they believe match. The purple suggests that you need additional research, and that might mean you have a father and 2 children listed, but there's no mother. And so it's letting you know, hey, this might be a really good place for you to research right now because it's important information and you'll need to find this. And then the red exclamation mark is letting you know that there are major errors, and that might happen if you either a date was put in incorrectly so that it looks like the child was born before the parents. So those are the things that you want to fix, and you need to fix them. I always look for those and pay attention to them. Sometimes people don't pay attention to them, but I do because I want to make sure things are as correct as they can possibly be so that FamilySearch has this information that then can help. It allows their system to more accurately find more that they can suggest for me. And if I don't have things incorrectly, then I'm going to be missing some of those opportunities for that information to pull up for me. To add people to your tree, you just need to go and select either father or mother or spouse or child, and you need to click on the button, the plus button. And just so you know, you can add living relatives for your own benefit, but you won't find information in the tree. And everybody, let's say that everybody in your family is working on a tree, and we have all inputted our living Uncle Tom. Each one of us is going to have an independent, different page for Uncle Tom. It's going to have his own PID, and they're not going to match until Uncle Tom passes away. Then that would be an opportunity for all of those pages to merge. So you don't really need to put in a living member unless you need to put that person in to then connect you to a deceased person. So even if your parents are still living, you need to put them in to be able to connect you to your grandparents. But your children, you may not feel the need to put it in, or you can just because you like to see the complete picture and have everybody in there. I have my children in mine, even though, I don't really need to. Okay, so you enter last name, a first and last name there. And remember that in FamilySearch, you always want to add maiden names of people. It's really going to help. They'll be able to, FamilySearch is going to be able to identify more records if you have their maiden name and then the spouse's name. They'll be able to combine those two and find records with both names. So we'll talk more about how to search for those records and which name to use and how you do that. But when you add them in, use the maiden name. Select their gender, select living or deceased, add any dates that you know if possible. Even if you only know a year or about a year, go ahead and put it in to help, because you can always go back and correct it later when you actually find a source that is going to be more accurate. Type in a birthplace and keep in mind that a lot of your ancestors, when they lived in a town, it might have been called a parish or commonwealth or something different than it's called today. So don't always assume that it's going to be the same name. What you'll want to do is when you type in, for instance, on this, if you typed in that their birthplace was Eagle Hawk, it's going to give you some suggestions and you might see there one that matches. And if you don't feel like you see one that matches, what you want to do still is you can put in what you know is true, but then try to find the standardized place as well. And it might be a more general, like if you're not finding exactly what you want, you can still, you can just do a more general, like Eagle Hawk, Australia, if you don't know which one of those it is. Okay. Now, when you are adding a person to your tree, it's very possible that it will come up with someone and say, hey, this might be the person you're trying to add. And what you need to do is look at it and verify whether or not it is your person. And if you think that it is, then you might want to look into it just a little bit further to make sure, if it's a really general name, you really couldn't know. But if all the dates and the names and the places match up and you have you really feel certain that it's the same person, then you can just add that match and it will auto generate into your tree this person that already exists in the tree. But if you aren't positive, then do not do that. Just create a person, because you can always go back later and merge if you need to. You don't want to tie into someone else's tree if it wasn't the right person and they had the same name, even if they were born in the same town, the same year, because that does happen. So you want to make sure that that is the right person before you go ahead and say, yeah, that's the person. So you could just create a person if you want. So on this summary card, click their name to go to their person page. So you can click person, or you can just click their name and it will open. When you go to a person page, it will show you their ID number, and that is a FamilySearch generated number that everybody in the tree will get, making them a completely unique person in the database. And you have the option of adding a life sketch. So sometimes I've seen people put like an obituary. They've copied and pasted an obituary. Other times, you might know a lot about your ancestor, and you might look at a lot of their the sources that are attached to them, and you might write a life sketch, because you can add to that life sketch and anybody else can as well. Other members of your family can go in and they can add things to that. They can edit it. And so keep that in mind, that it can be edited by other people. Underneath the vital section, right after life sketch, you will see all the super important information, the name, the birth date, the christening date, the death date, the burial, and the places. And so that's where you can find that information. Okay. In other information, I think this is super helpful for you to take the time to add other information. If you were to click on other information underneath all that basic information, you might be able to add their race, which is really, really going to be helpful in this search engine. You can add alternate names, which will help FamilySearch to be able to search them under different names, because I'm sure if you've spent any time researching ancestors, it's pretty rare for them to just have the same name all the way through and not go by either a nickname or a name change in some way, especially when they came from Europe or other countries and came to America. Very often those names change. So this is a great place for you to put in an alternate name and any other, things that you want to add that will help generate more records because they have more information. If you look on the left, you'll always see on the left side of that person page, this in bold, the person that you are looking at, their page, their spouse and their children. And on the right side, you'll see them in bold again, but they will be as a child with their parents and their siblings. That's how every page is organized. And you can also click on any of the names of his siblings and then open her page. A summary card will pop up open, and then you can click on person to see her page, or you can click on tree to see her in the tree. And so you'll be able to look at siblings that way. You can add a spouse or a child to a person page, or a parent, a sibling, by clicking these plus signs. And that's important. You want to be able to get everybody added into the tree. The more information that you can put in about your ancestor, the more records that can be generated for you, record hints. So we talked about this. If you look over on the right side under research help, it's going to give you some of those icons that will tip you off. I love seeing these record hints. I love it when there is a blue record hint on my ancestor, because it might give me information that I did not know. It might reveal another child in the family that we didn't know was there. It just gives a fuller picture. So you want as many records as you can find of your ancestor. They're about 95% accurate. So now granted, if you have very little information, if you only have George Stewart with no birth date, and maybe just a simple country, then it's less likely to be your relative, because there's going to be a lot of George Stewarts. But if you have more specific information, you're more likely to find something that is really your ancestor. Pay attention to those research suggestions.
Elsie,
Yes.
it's about time.
Is it already time?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
We're starting to move.
That went really
know.
fast. That went really fast. Thank you so much for letting me know. So you guys can go ahead and go into your rooms and meet up with your helpers and see what you can find on your own trees.